All right, all right, all right. We are live right now on the Tipping Point Morning Show. Just waiting for my other brother from another mother to come on in. And I tell you what, special guest Marcus Ray here today. Thank you, sir, for stepping in. I'm going to put you backstage here for a second and bring you on back up. All right.
Yes, sir.
All right, all right. We appreciate that. All right. And brother John, y'all esoteric concepts. What's going on, family?
Peace, family. How you doing, man?
Hey, good, man. I'm glad to be here. Glad to start the show today. Glad to do another show today, man. You ready to rock it?
Man, I am ready. Let's roll.
Okay, let's do this. All right, now, folks, we got some beautiful stuff coming for you today. We got special guest Marcus Ray, president of the Kentucky NAACP, as well as, man, I can't wait till the crypto wrap up with Crypto Cliff. I tell you what, family, we got some beautiful stuff coming, but let's get it popping.
You are listening to The Tipping Point Show with your host, Mr. Just Ask Joe, John Yeah. Right here on WLOU. Stream it live on Facebook and WLOUonline.com. And now, The Tipping Point Show.
I tell you what, man, that ding at the end never gets old. Folks, here it is. This is it. The NAACP, who are they and what role do they play in the community? We'll have that conversation with NAACP President Marcus Ray, as well as moving into a conversation about the dark side of entrepreneurship. Is there a dark side to entrepreneurship? Man, how's your week been, family?
Man, it's been awesome. You know, this is probably my first ever real participation in a election, right?
Yeah.
Only because of my good friend Carl Price was running. I really wanted to see him win. I definitely wanted to see a change in the county attorney's office, but unfortunately he did not win. And we're going to have the continuing same guy in office that has
same old Connell.
Same guy, yes, has been putting black people away for the longest. I don't know why did black people vote for this guy. Is it because he's a Democrat or I don't get it? But man,
they you know, a lot of us go in there. We look at the ticket. We say, "Up, Democrat." Boop, 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 and just vote. You know what I mean? It's like how people do. And I'll be honest with you. Look, I'm a registered independent. So I didn't get the opportunity to vote, and I actually talked to Peter Hayes about some election stuff, and I said, you know, next year we need to educate people. Not next year, but in the next time we have these elections, you know, we'll look at 2026, and we need to educate people how they can strategically move their party to be able to vote in a majority of who they want to vote for. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I personally I personally had Democrat and Republicans that I wanted to vote for. So, you know, it's kind of impossible to go across the aisle like that.
Primaries, yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know, in the primaries. But nonetheless, it would have been dope too, because I wanted to see Chartrell Hall win as mayor. That would have been dope. And, you know, I was really feeling Carl Price, you know, so that's moving from Republican to Democrat. But I was really feeling Carl Price. I just feel like, you know, he's somebody that not only just cares, but somebody that can do. You know, he's somebody that can get in there and make a difference. And I feel like we would feel it and we would see it, you know. Plus, I'm tired of getting, you know, any letters that say Mike O'Connell on it. You know, the return address is the Mike O'Connell on it. I'm tired of that. But nonetheless, it is what it is. But outside of that, man, how's things going? I know you, man. Yeah, I was talking to you earlier this week, man, and you know what I love about rapping with you, man. And I honestly, I wish more in person sometimes, but I know you're just a busy dude. But you feed me a lot of energy, man, and you helped the other day to light a fire under my ass, and just had me thinking of all sorts of different things, man. Out here with business and stuff. But one of the things that I took away from that was how you look when you talk about your business. You have a particular smile and zeal when you talk about your business, man. And I think that's dope. You know what I mean? You love it to such a point to where when you think about it, to where when you talk about it, man, you're filled with joy, man. Where does that come from? Is it just a certain level of gratitude, or is it just you really like incense? I mean, what how does it get to that point for you?
Well, it's a passion for me. So, you find your passion and you love what you do, and it becomes not work. It's just something you love doing. So yes, when I talk about my business, when I talk about my growth, when I talk about the ability to continue to grow and come up with new ideas for the business, yes, I get very excited because I see the end result. And I'm able to focus on that end results, and it makes me happy now, even though the results is not here yet. I'm capable of feeling that hump of yes, I did it, and that's excitement to me. Yeah, to come from where I come from and to see what I have produced, and specifically the benefits of seeing my products in people's homes. And sometimes I see people post up on Facebook. They don't know me and they're not connected to me. And I see my products in the background, or I see them talk about my products. Those things right there, because we pump out a lot of fragrances. They're in a lot of people's homes. I always think about my products going in people's homes and what they feel about my products. So that's residual feeling that you see in the product is how I feel about the product.
Bro, I mean, I feel it when I talk to you about it, and I think that's dope because there's a certain level of creativity that goes into that. I mean, you mix fragrances together to create other fragrances, and you mix colors together to create, different colors for the incense, outside of, the displays themselves. I mean, the displays, when you showed me what you showed me, the average person is not going to walk up to that display and see what you created there. Right. But when you showed that to me, I was like, God, dog, that's dope as fuck. I was like, bro, that's dope. The sun and everything that you described. Once, as you look at it, you're like, man, I see that shit. That's fucking dope. But you're doing that not necessarily for people to walk up, look, and understand it right away. You're doing that because there's a certain type of energy you want surrounding your product.
Yes, exactly.
And that's absolutely dope, man. From the way you package and everything, I mean, not even letting people come in if they got bad energy going on to work. You know what I mean? That's dope. And to the synergistic way that you link up with the people that you work with that help you in this venture. That's dope in and of itself. So, man, shouts out to you for that. I want to say grand rising to the General Ahamara Mathis. It was beautiful seeing you out, sis. I loved it. Absolutely. Rashana Morrison, shouts out to you, sis. Phyllis Satya. I tell you what, man, I'm so glad I had a chance to sit at that gathering for her birthday, because until you said her name, I did not know how to properly enunciate it. And I'm so glad that 2 and 2 got put together, all that good stuff, faces with the names, and that's just dope. But grand rising, sis, Vicky Irvin, the alchemist, the magician, yes. Grand rising, sis, absolutely. And hey, Hamara, she's over there at the spot with you, and like she says, the shop is a very magical place. That's dope. I can only imagine. I might have to come in and just work one day. Just come in and just work, just to see what this energy is about, and just soak up some of this energy, man. But nonetheless, we got a great show going on today, folks. I'm about to go ahead and bring up another brother from another mother. As you see here, we have a beautiful show going on, and we'll be coming right back. I'm gonna do a couple commercials, and we'll come right back, and we're gonna bring up brother Crypto Cliff from Bitcoin Campus, and y'all know what it is when we do that, folks. It's all about going ahead and giving y'all some little jewels, some little just some nuggets that you can move in this digital space these days. She said, bring your body for a tune-up, Joe. I got you. I'm coming, because I wanna learn how to do this. You know what I mean? I'm trying to, it's been a long time since I've been around my Sifu Yin. But hey, we'll come right back, folks, right here on the Tipping Point Morning Show.
Hey folks, check out healthdaddywow.net. 100% plant-based herbs and supplements. Whether you're in person or online, use the word tipping for 10% off. Remember, feel better, look great, healthdaddywow.net. Remember, healthdaddywow.net.
Thank you, Truth Be Told, for allowing God's Lives Matter to be a sponsor. Wearable products, as the purple t-shirt, is bearing witness every life created by God has infinite value. Visit God'sLivesMatter.com.
BB Trading Company, home of soap, sticks, and Saya Baba products. Over 400 locations at a store near you. Cincinnati, Ohio, Louisville and Lexington, Kentucky, Southern Indiana, or find yours online at sayababa.com. Again, that's sayababa.com. A BB Trading Company, where you can find fragrances to incite your senses.
All right, folks. We are back right here with the Tipping Point Morning Show. And once again, folks, I want to bring to the stage, man, this guy is dope. I've had a chance to see him in the Bitcoin Campus Telegram, talking his talk, walking his walk, in the Facebook Bitcoin Campus page. Folks, it's none other than Crypto Cliff. Brother, how are you doing? Welcome to the Tipping Point Morning Show.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate the invite, man. I really do. This is a beautiful thing you guys are doing here.
Absolutely, man. We really appreciate you, man. So, today I want to know what you got to drop on the ears of the listeners for this 5-minute crypto wrap up.
What I have to drop for the listeners is a point of action, take a point of action. Let's go ahead and get to action. Let's get to work. Right now is the best time possible to be buying into the crypto market, point blank, period. A little bit about me before I really get into that. Listen, I am a crypto investor. I've been investing in the crypto market since 2014. I'm also a established author. I've written 2 books on how you can get started investing into the crypto market. Listen, right now is like a Black Friday discount market right now. Everyone and anyone should be getting into the crypto market right now. I see Bitcoin actually dropping down to below the $25,000 mark at one point, and I see Ethereum dropping down to below at least $1,500 within the next 2 or 3 months. But right now, it's pivotal. It's very, very pivotal time for you to be buying into the crypto market. Not only that, I want to give you guys some jewels. I believe, and this is my personal belief from my research I've done, that the metaverse tokens are going to create the next crypto millionaires. So without further ado, let me drop a few of them on you. Meta Hero is one that's very, very slept on. Meta Hero has a crypto scanning tool that allows you to scan your physical body or scan the image of your physical body into the metaverse. Decentraland, Sandbox, Axie Infinity. These are some of the premium metaverse tokens that you can actually buy into right now and actually have that high interest gaining tool for the future. Right now is the time you want to build your high profile, a high interest gaining portfolio up in the crypto space.
Hey man, go ahead and give us those tokens again.
Okay, I'll give you those tokens right again. First off is Meta Hero. Mm-hmm. The second one is Axie Infinity. The third one I'm looking into right now heavy is Sandbox. I'm heavily invested in the Sandbox. The fourth one is Mana or Decentraland. Last but not least, a little more riskier plays, Fluky and UFO.
You said Fluky?
Yeah, Fluky, Floki, and the UFO. These are some of the tokens I'm personally looking into right now. I'm actually invested into right now that I'm seeing will have high potential in the next upcoming months. Listen, metaverse is getting ready to revolutionize the way we see everything. Imagine putting on an Oculus system. Imagine putting on a system on your forehead. I have mine here. I got my controllers here. I stay in the metaverse. But imagine putting on a system and actually being able to go to China. Imagine putting on a virtual reality system and allowing yourself to actually be able to host business meetings or host conferences, host concerts. This is where the world is going to now. And COVID kind of offset this a little bit. It kind of really, really started the movement with the metaverse. So me personally, from the research I've done, the metaverse is going to be the next biggest opportunity when it comes down to crypto investing.
Somebody's asking about Luna One.
Luna One, I don't see anything going on with Luna, to be honest. Luna is a dead technology. It needs to be set down. I think that we need to go ahead and lay Luna to pasture. Go ahead and lay Luna out.
So is it all about the technology that surrounds these coins as to what makes you want to invest in them?
Exactly. When you invest into a cryptocurrency, you never want to invest into the price point of any crypto. You want to invest into what the technology behind that cryptocurrency is. You want to invest to see whether that cryptocurrency is going to be something that's innovative and something that's going to be helpful for society. That's what I invest in when I invest in the cryptocurrencies personally. I never invest into the price points of anything. I want to see the technology. I want to see the white paper behind it. I want to see what mission they have in life or what mission they have for this company. That's
a term that I've learned since being in Bitcoin Campus is white paper. I never knew that terminology, but that's basically saying the paperwork that shows you what this thing does and what the technology is behind it. You know, basically why I would want to invest in this crypto, right?
Exactly. And not only that, it shows you the future predictions of that cryptocurrency. What projects do they have coming up down the line? 10, 15, 20 years from now. So it gives you a full spectrum of what's going on with that project. That's what you invest in. You never invest into the price point. Don't go following Shiba Inus and the Doge coins. You want to invest into premium crypto projects that's actually going to have a use case for society in the future.
When you're talking about an investor, are you talking about investing? Because people think of this, they think they're going to get rich quick. They think there is going to be like a turnover. When you talk about investing, you're talking about putting it in there long term and just letting it set, right?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. The way I teach, and I actually teach crypto investing, I've been teaching since 2017. But the way I teach is a method called dollar cost averaging. And you know, dollar cost averaging actually came from the stock market, where people can dollar cost average ETFs or mutual funds for over 20 years. And usually they gain around 50% interest over the 20-year period. But when you dollar cost average crypto market, it cuts that curve down to 3 to 7 years. So I teach people to dollar cost average the crypto market versus going into the stock market. And what it shows is, like, for instance, my journey, I've been investing in Bitcoin since 2014. I got Bitcoin at $127 per coin. So when it comes down to it, I'm up 32,000% on the Bitcoin, my first initial Bitcoin investment. So, but this is the thing. A lot of people say it's too late to get into the game right now. Right now, it's very, very early to get into the Bitcoin game. I like to describe it as kind of getting into the internet when Google first came out. You know what I'm saying? So the opportunity is here. And I honestly don't even believe, because belief is have a certainty of doubt. I know that cryptocurrency will take us from being at the bottom of that totem pole to rise up to the occasion. This is your recession right now, but this is your reparations right here. Getting into cryptocurrency extremely early right now so that you can watch those high interest gaining points in the future.
What coin do you think is going to dwarf Bitcoin?
Honestly, because of the technology behind it, I honestly believe that I don't think anything is going to dwarf Bitcoin, but what can give Bitcoin a run for its money is Cardano, Polkadot, and Solana. And it's because of the technology behind those three crypto projects. It's because they have that multi-level smart contract aspect of all those projects. I believe one of those projects is actually getting ready to take over Ethereum in the near future.
So let me ask you, what do you think about Lab Rabbits? Because we're getting ready to host the 7 p.m. meeting tomorrow with the owner of Lab Rabbits tomorrow 7 p.m. and along with Bitcoin Campus. What do you think about that?
I've heard of Lab Rabbits. I really haven't looked into it extensively, but from what I see about Lab Rabbits, I think it's a dope product. I think it's a very, very dope project. And I really don't
they're focusing on they're like anti-vaccine. So yeah, they're looking at, they're anti-big pharma, anti-vaccine, focused on technology or products that, I guess somehow help outside of fluffing people with vaccines and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's more natural based products.
So that's that use case that you're talking about. Find something, if you're gonna research it, find something that has a use case, meaning find something that you can look at that says, you know what, this is gonna be something that we will need down the road. It's the same thing like when you invest in the stock market. Hey, if you're going to Target to spend money at Target all the time, guess what? You probably should buy stock there because there's other people just like you going and spending money at Target, right?
Exactly. Just like VeChain. VeChain is a supply chain coin. Basically, what it does is it holds all the technology and the information from any company. Say, for instance, right now, Louis Vuitton is using VeChain to actually hold their inventory and take accountability for their inventory. That's a utility. That's a use case coin. That's something that's going to be sufficient, and it's going to be something that's going to be real time based into that company. It's going to be something that's going to help that company. So you want to invest into crypto projects that's actually going to have a use case, going to have a utility behind it, something that's actually going to be useful. You don't want to invest into anything that everybody else is getting into, like Sheepcoin and Dogecoin, those meme coins that really don't have any technology backed by them. It's just being driven by the community.
Okay, so Ken Lockhart, he says Lab Rabbits funds the scientists that look into COVID-19 side effects. Okay, he also says that the government tries to stop this funding, so they went DeFi. Now, I forget what DeFi means. I know you can explain that to us, Crypto Cliff.
DeFi is basically decentralized financing. It's basically what the new foundation or the new financial system is going to become eventually. It's a system that allows you to actually be able to buy into it, and also let you invest into it without showing your ID, your government issued ID, your social security number, your proof of address, anything that's going to identify you as you. So you basically can benefit off of, you can get loans, you can even lend out your cryptocurrency in the DeFi market or the DeFi market without showing any type of proof. It's totally pseudo, which I understand why they went that pseudo route versus going through, when they're dealing with the government.
Yep, absolutely. Man, I tell you what, you have dropped some absolute nuggets today. Hey, if you could do us a favor, man, and just go into the comment section, maybe on the Tipping Point Morning Show page or any of the comment section, man, if you could go in there and just type some of these coins and things. I mean, I got Floki, I got UFO, I know Cardano, I got Polkadot, Solana, the VeChain. Hey, man, just type this stuff in there so everybody can do their due diligence and do some research on their own, man. I absolutely appreciate you stepping in with us.
Oh, no problem at all, brother. Anytime.
Absolutely, you, brother. Hey, no love problem. It. Folks, that has been the 5-minute crypto wrap-up with your boy, Crypto Cliff from Bitcoin Campus. He's one of the leaders there. Good stuff. Bitcoin Campus is a community-based organization. Folks, tell you what, do this. Go to thetippingpointshow.com. All right. Click on the partners link. Click the little menu button. Click on partners. You're going to see this awesome logo that shows Bitcoin Campus and the Tipping Point Show. All right. So with that in mind, click that. It's going to take you to our affiliate page. You can research, do some stuff, do your due diligence. But folks, you get a chance to actually sign up. I'm gonna tell you, there's two different ways to sign up to get involved in this organization where you get to be a part of this type of information all day long. And one way is you can pay $25 a month for 1 year, and then your lifetime membership is done. All right, good stuff there. You can also go ahead and pay an upfront $180, and then boom, your lifetime membership is done. But let me tell you how dope this is. Last week, all I did was invite some people. I just invited some people, and some people decided to come on and get in on the Facebook page. Guess what? They paid me $1 for every person that went ahead and jumped in there. 60 people jumped in. It was dope. And then Michael Douglas, another one of the leaders there, he had another campaign going on. All I did was share it, and somebody signed up, and then he dropped me another $20. I mean, dude, I'm doing this stuff by accident, not even realizing that I'm getting paid for it. And it's just absolutely dope. Now I'm going to go and do this stuff on purpose. But again, that's been your 5-minute crypto wrap up. Folks, without further ado, again, the show here, NAACP, who are they and what role do they play in the community? We're going to bring up our special guest, Kentucky NAACP President, Brother Marcus Ray. Brother, how are you?
Good, Joe. Glad to be here this morning. You too, John. Hadn't seen you in a while.
How you
good
doing,
always
brother?
see both of you. Excellent. How are y'all doing this morning?
Great. Awesome. Thank you for showing up, and thank you for being here, brother.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. I hope we didn't make you wait too long, man. You know, we get in trouble sometimes when we make people wait too long, you know. But you good this morning?
Oh, absolutely. I find that Crypto Cliff had some very, very knowledgeable information to pass out. And I think those are the type of things when we talk about economic prosperity that we have to be looking at across the board, across the entire spectrum as an opportunity to gain economic advantage. Very insightful.
Absolutely. Now that is a special statement coming from you as the Kentucky NAACP president. So, you know, as the title of our show goes, NAACP, who are they and what do they do for the community? There's been rhetoric. Actually, hey, I even read up on some things where some years ago you were going back visiting some different NAACP locations, some dormant NAACP locations. And word on the street is NAACP used to be out there doing some fighting. You know what I mean? They used to be throwing blows, man. But what's going on? We haven't been seeing no blows being thrown, man. What's going on?
Well, to begin with, I think when you look at the NAACP, it's a volunteer organization. So I don't get paid, but I feel like I definitely have a full-time job. You know, I take complaints all across the state and attempt to help people resolve where the issues are. In this instance, you know, the NAACP in its height was one of the biggest and still is the biggest civil rights organizations out there. But the founding principles or the founding history of it was it came out of the Niagara movement with W.E.B. Du Bois and several other people when they formed this to combat lynchings that were taking place in America. And so that was kind of the beginning, and then it's grown into other things as civil rights and stuff like that. But what I see is what we do as a whole is take on cases of discrimination. And I say take on, meaning that sometimes a person will call NAACP seeking for help. And let me back up quickly on that. This is a member-based organization, and it's kind of like, if you're familiar with the term collateral damage, you know, in the military and anything else, you hit a target with some type of explosive, and then you look to see what type of damage is done around that as you assess the collateral damage. Well, I coined the term, and I'm sure I'm not new at it, but collateral benefit is the same type of thing, right? So the NAACP or any other organization that does work that benefits us all, whether you participate or not. And so a lot of times I hear people say, where's the NAACP and what are they doing? Well, you know, we do a lot of things that aren't necessarily visible. You know, we worked on the fair maps for redistricting. We're working right now on trying to help reform the bail bond system, you know, which that is disproportionately affects us and the amount of time that we spend in jail waiting for trial. And I think that sometimes will get pleased because you want to get back out on the street, and you probably didn't do whatever it is they said you did, but because you're sitting in jail and you want out. So anyway, we're working on the bail system. We're also working on fair sentencing guidelines. Some of the things that happen, it's all disproportionate. Everything that I'm talking about is disproportionate, but we're trying to revamp that so that the sentencing is fair based on the crime. We're also working on the automatic restoration of voting rights for felons. The 15th Amendment is a ace in the hole for any government or anybody that's trying to keep you down, right? We got the right to vote, and then then they start convicting us of felonies, which took away that right as well. And so after a person has paid their debt to society, they should automatically be given the right to vote so they can come participate in the system and be a first-class citizen again. We're also working on voter turnout and voter education. We're talking about protecting and expanding voting rights. We recently started working on the decriminalization of cannabis. There's a lot of folks in our community that have been criminalized for stuff they're trying to make money on now. So we're working on that diligently. We're also looking at different economic development type things. I've been meeting with the contractor that's building the Ford plants here in Hardin County to ensure that not only when you put together that labor force that it is reflective of our community, but that also they're going to spend over $5 billion here. And so our goal is to make sure that contractors are on that list, and we provide those skilled trades to them so that when we ask them, well, how come minorities didn't participate in this project, they can't say we didn't know anybody. So we're building that list to make sure that Ford is saying, yes, we want to be inclusive of the people that we hire, and that although that set of 5,000 jobs don't just go to the European community. We work on education.
And you're doing all of this for free.
Yes, sir. And I do it because it's just like John said earlier, you have a passion for things, and then you get involved in them, and then before you know it, you're consumed by it because you have a passion for it. And though it's work, if I weren't self-employed, it would be a difficult thing for me to do because probably 75% of my time is dealing with those types of things and meetings and being at places where we have a seat at the table. I said a few years ago that, we have to be present, not just in the boardroom, we have to be present in the courtroom and the school board rooms. So just in education, law enforcement, and economic development, if we're not engaging in those things, then it's difficult for us to complain or cry about not being included. So we take great pains to make sure that we're in those places. Now, the other part of the NAACP that I often hear people complain about, so I say, where is the NAACP? Well, we're a volunteer organization for one, and everybody has the ability to join and become a member and take part in what we're doing. A lot of the complaints that we get are employee-based or employer-based law enforcement for violating people's civil rights. And in those instances, once they, I always ask them to fill out a complaint form, because what I found is people will call and complain. And if they're not willing to commit what their complaint is in writing, then I typically won't spend any time on it, because if it's not serious enough for them to write it down, it's not serious enough for me to go look into it. And so once they give us a complaint, then we go and oftentimes we'll investigate it, meaning that we'll meet with the employer, and also them signing the complaint gives us an opportunity for the employer not to dodge us by saying, well, that's a personnel matter and we can't discuss that with you. So that helps us there. Once we wrap up that part of the investigation, the legal redress committee, then we refer it on to other agencies. So that would either be the Human Rights Commission, the EEOC, or a private attorney. So the NAACP doesn't have attorneys on staff like people call me and say, hey, I'm in trouble over here. I want the NAACP to help me. Do y'all provide attorneys? Well, we don't provide attorneys in that sense, right? So when Kentucky a couple of years ago was looking to curtail the expansion of voting rights that we had already gained during COVID, then we joined a lawsuit and submitted an amicus brief along with other organizations to keep that from happening. So attorneys that work full time for the NAACP work on national or statewide type of things that will affect the entire community. Very seldom when you see where an attorney that we were able to provide someone attorney for something that was individual to them. And so that gives us a lot of pushback when we say that's not what we do.
So right now, I mean, from what I'm hearing, the NAACP is still alive and well, and if you got an issue going on at work or what have you, you still have the opportunity to call the NAACP and fill out a complaint. But when I think about that, I think about a lot of our demographics of people that just say, "Oh man, F it," and walk away. Do you feel that same sentiment from our people versus taking the time to fill out a complaint? Because when you do that, then you're helping the next person to not have to deal with what you dealt with.
Absolutely. And I think when you look at it, we've gotten so used to saying, we're going to get screwed, we can't win. And so therefore they don't speak up. And that allows that same thing to happen to the next person. And so one of the things that I always
ask people, then it becomes normalcy.
That's right. And so what I ask people all the time, I said, listen, I will go to the mat with you, but you got to know that we got to go to the mat. You don't get to, I don't want to start down this road and then you change your mind, because once I start the process, then it can get ugly depending on, the circumstances of what's going on. And so I always like to get a commitment that, hey, if we're going to get into this, I'll fight with you, or we'll fight with you, but you got to fight. And so I ask them to do certain things along the way to ensure that, one, you want to verify what they're telling you before you jump out there, because the worst thing you could do is take Joe's word for it and go down there. So, well, you know what? The reason we terminated Joe is he hadn't shown up for work in the last 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. Right. And then I'm standing there with the egg on my face. So the hope is that everyone will stand up and say, I'm not going to take this, because tomorrow it may be someone else.
Let me ask you something. I mean, you know, to listen to you, sound like the NAACP is involved in a lot of things that the normal person don't know about, because there is no information or no outlet or where the NAACP is involved, whether we're talking about police brutality, or whether we're talking about gentrification, whether we're talking about, like you mentioned, about the school board. No one knows of NAACP like it used to be. The youth today don't even know what it does and what it exists for. Well, back in the 60s and the 70s, we understood, because NAACP was an agitating organization. It has now seemed to be just a buck dancing organization that seems to be just going along just to get along. Let me ask you this. Who's funding the NAACP? If it ain't Black people, who's actually funding NAACP? Where's this getting this money from? Because I'm sure somebody's getting paid, even if it's the president of the whole chapter. Somebody's getting a check. And so I noticed the only thing I see with NAACP, the only thing I see is when they have award shows and they inviting celebrities and shit like that. So we don't hear anything else. And this is why I'm saying people are non and void of knowing the power, if they have any, of knowing what they can do. And this other issue about being members, is it that you have to be a member before NAACP will really act? Or is it just like, yo, you're not a member, do what you can type of organization? Is it only going to get involved if it's a political situation to where now it's publicized, So, a person's got a problem. Now it's all over the news. Now NAACP wants to get in because it gives them a little bit of a clout there. But if just for a normal person and it's not a member and it's really not no big deal, ain't no news media, it seems like it just doesn't get looked at. So back to the first question, where's y'all money coming from?
Well, now I'm certain that corporations and people that give money, now at the state level, we raise money through different events and stuff like that. Here in Kentucky, we don't have any major corporate donors. The Martin family out of Bowling Green with Martin Motors Family Group, they have helped us with scholarships. They help us to do scholarships. But the way I understand it, some of it is philanthropic. People give money, and so for various tax reasons, they give money to organizations.
Okay.
And so the NAACP is a benefactor of some of those. And the same thing from corporations. Now, there are paid staff in the national office. And so I don't see the insides of where all the money comes from, but I know that it's going to come from philanthropic organizations as well as corporations that are working through those cycles for giving back to the
what
community.
about companies like the McDowell Company that donates money to the NAACP?
Well, because the national office is the only 501c3 in the organization, then all monies like that would have to go to the national office, and then they determine based off of whatever if there were restrictions on the donation, then they have to use it in the manner for which the restrictions were given. If it's not, then it funds the national programs. Very little, if any of that money comes back to the local conferences or chapters and branches to fulfill that. Now this year they have changed that up a little bit, and the board will be giving out money to state conferences to help rebuild the infrastructure and stuff like that. But
back in the day when NAACP first kicked off, I think it had I think it really had some integrity to it about what it was doing and what it stood for. And all of a sudden now you had a lot of Jewish organizations and other organizations come in to donate money. And it seemed to me, I don't know, I'm always leery of that. So here's the question. NAACP is about fighting for the people. That's the best way I could put it, right? Mm-hmm. If it's designed for fighting for the people, who's it fighting and who's the enemy? Is the enemy individual corporations? Is the enemy the government? What do the enemy look like? Is it the enemy of another political party that's trying to take away voters' rights or trying to take away gun rights or violate the Constitution? Give me an example of who actually is the enemy and where is the focus of the NAACP and what does that enemy look like?
Well, in the reference in which you make, the inner enemy is a intangible, right? I can't reach out and touch racism. So when I say that that's the enemy, I can't say that, yes, this is the enemy. And for instance, this thing that's going on with Wells Fargo and faking interviews so that they could get their diversity inclusion numbers up, right? That's the enemy. But I can touch Wells Fargo in that instance and say, you're the enemy, right? Someone whose civil rights are violated out here on the side of the road. And I used to be a policeman, right? And I can tell you that if you push me the wrong way at the time when I was policing, it could turn bad, right? But that doesn't make it right. But I can touch that. And so I can't give you a specific enemy because it will manifest itself in different ways every time you look at it. But racism and my civil liberties are what are the threshold, I'll say, for looking at that. So when the individual has a situation, then certainly we want to be able to help them if possible. And I go back to what I said earlier when I said collateral benefits. I didn't go into a lot of detail about it, but there's a lot of phone calls that I get, and you don't have to be a member for the association to help you. I always ask them, are you a member? It doesn't change whether or not we will assist you. But what I find is, and no one thinks the NAACP is doing anything, but then as soon as trouble strikes or knocks at their door, they want to call the NAACP.
That's right.
And I ask people a lot of times in conversation, I'll ask you, do you know why politicians fear the NRA? Either one of you know when I say that.
Do I know why the politicians fear the NRA? It's because of their power and their lobbyists, the money that they give the politicians, the money that they buy politicians off with the lobbyists going into the Senate and lobbying for their rights. That's why.
Well, and that's the very tip of the iceberg, right? The reason that politicians give pause when the NRA is talking to them, not because their lobbyists are working them, but because they have 5 million members. And if I've got 5 million members and they talk to 5 people who talk to 5 people about an issue that is important to us or to me as an organization, then of course when the lobbyists go to talk to them, that's in the back of their mind that organization has 5 million members, and if they as a group, right, can swing an election. For instance, right there in the city of Louisville, and I look at the numbers for the minority African American population. Think about how powerful it would be in any organization, but specifically if you had an organization there that had 15 to 20 or 30,000 members, and you went down to city council and were talking about things happening in your community, then that gives everybody sitting on that, especially the mayor, a moment of pause, because 20 or 30,000 votes can swing an election in a county.
That's right.
And so you have to build. So the membership is not about whether we're going to help you or not, because that would happen anyway. But it's about knowing that when I go and talk to the governor about things, don't think 150,000 votes can't swing a statewide election.
Right.
And so when I ask you to do things, or we're talking about the betterment of the community and how we make those things happen, then in the back of their mind, they have to be thinking, well, they're 150,000 members strong who talk to 10 people who talk to 10 people.
Gotcha.
And so that's kind of the theory behind the membership, is you build that clout.
So here, I want to let me do this real quick, John. If you don't mind, I'm going to show something, because this comes from the General Ahamra Mathis. She says, how can the NAACP help with the TIF in the West End? Now, just real quick, folks, if you don't know what she means by TIF, then I'll talk about that real quick. TIF invests tax revenue back into the area it encompasses. In the case of West Louisville, the TIF represents 9 neighborhoods: Parkland, Shawnee, Park Duval, Russell, Portland, California, Chickasaw, Park Hill, and Algonquin. The beginning of the plan was created under House Bill 321, passed in 2021. So before you answer that question, I want to kind of show a little bit of this, and I see our general's smiley face in this video just the same. So here, let's take a look at this real quick, and we'll get a closer look as to what she's talking about.
Live in their own homes. It's the concern of many in the West End because of a new proposed tax district.
WDRB's Katrina Nichols shows us how people are making sure their voices are heard.
Stop the tip! Stop the tip! Stop the tip! Stop the tip!
Dressed in red and holding signs, doubling down on their chants, a group of people from West Louisville protested.
Who streets? Our streets! Who streets? Our streets!
Against their homes becoming part of a tax incremental financing district.
It's welfare for powerful developers.
A TIF invests tax revenue back into the area it encompasses. In this case, the TIF represents these 9 neighborhoods. And under House Bill 321, passed in 2021, it's managed by the West End Opportunity Partnership, who met Monday night. It's a group of people representing major Louisville organizations and representatives from all 9 neighborhoods.
But we do know that there's a potential for this entity, you, becoming significant players.
But a major concern for people is what it will mean for people renting. Renters make up about 60% of West Louisville's population, according to the Metro Housing Coalition.
As time goes on, taxes are going to rise, and then property values are going to rise. And folks who are renting from individuals who have to pay those costs are naturally going to face increased rental costs or be forced to move.
That's why the Metro Housing Coalition made it a point during Monday's meeting that the partnership needs to ensure extra support for people renting in the TIF district.
If it is done well and it is done with the interest and the protection of the residents at heart, it will be great. If not, it is just another TIF experiment. So let's not fall into that trap.
The West End Opportunity Partnership is still looking for a representative from the Park Hill neighborhood and working to become an established nonprofit. Katrina Nichol, WDRB News.
All right. So when we look at that, you know, we go back to the question, how can the NAACP help with the TIF in the West End? Is this something that the NAACP can help with, or is this a, you know, this isn't our area type of thing here?
Well, I would say that it's not specifically in our area, but whenever you talk about housing and housing discrimination, then of course, you know, we want to make sure that we're involved in that. Now, I will tell you that I don't know much about the TIF in the West End because since I don't live in Louisville, I don't keep up with the specifics of what happens there. But what I understand about them, because I am involved with a committee right now that's working on the sales tax for the entire state, and so it's something similar to that. I think one is uh, you have to participate in that governing board and make sure that when those things are being done, you just don't go to the meetings and go along to get along, right? If in fact that TIF works the way it's designed to improve the neighborhood, then somewhere in there should be a component for home ownership. You know, we have a place where a lot of people rent, and that's good that they have the housing, but there also should be some component in there that makes some ownership in that. So I don't know a lot about it, but if you'll give me till next week, then I'll get a response to you on how we can engage that one specifically to make sure that the people in the West End don't find themselves priced out of a place to live because they're making improvements in the community, which ultimately is what happens. Just like the lady said, is once that goes up, you know, as a rental property owner, I always pass those costs on to the person renting. So I want my margins to stay the same. So if it costs me more, of course, I'm going to raise my rents. And so we need to make sure that in the course of doing that, that people aren't priced out of a place to stay. But if you give me a week to get into that, and I'll get back with you, and then you can share it with the members of your audience.
Absolutely. Maybe if we have some time, we can have you on for a quick second next week. We'll look into that. But that is coming from the general of the new Revolutionary Black Panther Party here in Louisville, Kentucky, Ahamara Mathis. So you heard that, General. He's going to do some due diligence.
Is there a local chapter here in Louisville?
There is a local chapter there in Louisville.
Let me ask you: Are you over them? Do they? Is that the chain of command? Local Louisville, you the state, then someone's the national. That's the chain of command, right?
That's correct. Yeah. Now that's the chain of command, and it's a loose fitting chain because every community has a little bit of twist to their local thing. So each branch has the autonomy to work on issues that are affecting their community. So the Louisville branch would be the people to talk with as a general rule about what's happening. And a lot of times what I hear is and I say this with love for all of them, but I used to go to the national convention, and I still go. And every year that I went, you know, those little hover rounds, every year there'd be more of them there for people to use that come to the convention. So the organization is getting older, and if we don't renew that with someone younger, then eventually the organization will die on the vine because they consider me a youngster and I'm 57, right? And so I think part of the membership and the growth is that one, you got to bring in new people that have new ideas.
Exactly.
Right? We're still at times, and it's an ongoing battle, but we're still at times talking like it's 1950, and the things that worked in 1950 aren't going to work in 2022.
That's right.
But when you have the people that have a proven formula that worked from the 50s, it can be hell sometimes trying to get them to try something new. And so the way to affect change there is one, to join the local unit. Elections are every 2 years, and then move into those spots. So when this TIF or something like that comes up, you know, I tell people all the time, and the governor, different people I talk to, we can try to work this out, but I'm not above hitting the streets and raising all kind of hell that has to be raised if we can't work it out over here.
Yeah.
Well,
is it? Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
It's interesting because I guess when we talk about paid positions, if it's not a paid position, then it could lack the real response that it needs. I mean, if the local guy ain't did jack, you know, you just now learning about it and now looking into it. we need some aggressive people that would have been already there. I mean, like, well, maybe because there ain't no checks being passed, it's just a volunteer thing. People take things secondary and not really put it in their forefront until it is announced or they are called out for it. Then we get involved. I find it interesting, but definitely appreciate that you will come back with us. Let me ask you a couple of questions on where the NAACP is on voting. Is the NAACP married to the Democrat Party? I don't really only see that they only support the Democrat Party on all issues. I mean, across the board. Is that something that maybe the tie in with the organization? Because here we got the Democratic Party have always been taking advantage of the black vote. You got black people who just vote democratically because it's emotional and their family did it, and nobody's taking a particular look at what party or what person, forget the party, or what person is actually benefiting us, and why can't the NAACP say, hey, we support him? Like, is NAACP agrees with the Constitution? In other words, when the Constitution is violated, like you mentioned about NRA, and their organization will go and spend money. When every time somebody talks about gun rights, NRA will pop up with their constitutional right. And so what I'm saying it is that when we talk about Constitution, do the NAACP do anything to protect our rights of the Constitution? I give you another example. When we went through the vaccines, I see that the NAACP was in support of the vaccines, unlike the Tuskegee experiment, but somehow supported the vaccines and not against it. This is why I asked the question, who's the enemy? Because if the NAACP is only here to agree with whatever the government's doing and they're not here to educate and look into it themselves, then the people are just stuck. Because if NAACP ain't taken up on their own, see, I believe this, and I believe this out of Frederick Douglass's mouth. Wherever a black person should go, he should go and educate. And the person, it was in his writings, and the person asked, why should you educate? He said, because education stirs up dust, and dust never settles the same. Well, the NAACP used to be a stirring up dust, right? I mean, really, it was about stirring up dust, and it didn't matter who the member was, but when you heard that NAACP was coming, white people will get kind of messed up and shaky. You know, damn, you're gonna call NAACP? We don't want you marching and shutting our business down. Now it just seems to be watered down and just kind of wait at the wayside, and maybe just an organization that is held up as some type of status for black people to think it's doing something when it's really not. If it's not involved in school, it's not involved in the school choices in the school board. If you look at what happened in the 70s and the 80s, the school board took away trade, which took a lot of black people out of businesses and not having trade when they come out of school to get a good job, architect or even welding and carpeting and mechanics, those kind of things. If those things happen, and they happen right up under our nose, where was the NAACP? Why wasn't they in there to announce, hey, this is what's going on. Y'all need to come in the school board and start voting. You know, we need some type of horn, somebody who's willing to blow the horn and get out there and let the people know, because people don't know anything about the NAACP. What are y'all doing? What are y'all involved in? I mean, we talked about a lot of stuff apparently that's behind the closed doors, and I commend you. That's a lot of stuff. But nobody knows about what they're doing. It would have been cool if we all knew what they're doing out there, and they're involved. And maybe I could give some money, and maybe I could donate some time if I thought y'all was radical enough to kicking down doors and stirring up dust. But it seems to be that's not the case. And so, you know, that's why I'm asking the question: who's funding it, and why can't y'all get away from that? Or maybe the enemy itself is funding the NAACP, because I do believe that always your enemy will sponsor your opposition. They will sponsor your opposition, and they will sponsor you as the opposition. Black Lives Matter, of course, you know. And so we just follow along, and I want to see some disrupts. I want to see some dust stir up. I want to see somebody that's pissing people off, right? Pissing off politicians, pissing off police officers, pissing off people who are in office. And I think that's where it's at. If I see that, I'm confident that the NAACP is for the people. If I see it piss off people that are against what we're trying to do in the advancement of colored people.
Well, and those are good points, John. And what I think you find is that inside that conversation or that question you just asked me, it's about not just what is Marcus Ray going to do about it, but I also have to ask what Mr. Ask Joe and John are going to do about it. And so it's easy to say we want to go out and stir up and agitate dust, but I still have to pay my bills, meaning sometimes I got to go to work and sometimes I have to do the things that allow me to continue to survive. Now, you think about historically and how the NAACP was in its early days, you found that a lot of the people that led this organization were in the clergy. And I believe that the reason you saw that is that during those days, the clergy were the only people that their livelihood wasn't necessarily in jeopardy. If they were out raising that hell, the members of the congregation could insulate them from their livelihood being taken away from them. So when you saw it then, there was a situation where there was a movement happening and people were moving. I think that, and I ask this question all the time too, is that the Voting Rights Act of 1964 and the Civil Rights Act of 1965 put us on what most people thought was cruise control to the promised land, right? But I ask people all the time, I say, now, if you put your car on cruise control, what's the one thing that you must do in order to get where you're going, right? You know what it is, right? You have to keep your hands on the wheel. And what we did not do, and I'm talking about we as a people, we did not keep our hands on the wheel. I have said this many times. The white only signs didn't disappear. They were always coming at us in the other direction. But since we had our hands on the wheel, we never got hit by them. We took our hands off the wheel after the Civil Rights Act. And now those white only signs are hitting us coming from the other direction because we drifted over that line.
So, you think is it because we think we made it?
Well,
is that what happened?
We got laxed.
Well, I think some of that is that we did get lax, right? And I say this, when we talk about integration and what integration was, I didn't never care if I lived next door to Johnny or went to school with Sally. The point of integration was to integrate the power, the resources, and the responsibility. See, we didn't have an education gap when we were educating our own children, right? We didn't start having one until we wanted to be over there.
Wow. Yeah.
So it was never about being over there. It was about sharing the power, the resources, and the responsibility.
It was supposed to be about that.
Well, but we got hoodwinked, right? Because now I live next door to Johnny and go to school with Sally, and we got hoodwinked to thinking that we were on the path to being equal. When in fact, if we had stayed in our own schools and they split the money equally, I don't think we would be discussing an education gap today.
That's right.
Right.
So you're saying split the money equally so that we can fund our own schools just the same as they fund their public schools.
That's right. So that we got wrapped up in that and we took our eye off of that. See, because it was never about living next door to them.
Hands off the wheel.
That's right. We took our hands off the wheel. And so as when I got sidetracked, John, but the point is that it takes people committed to anything to make it happen. Sometimes moments don't become movements because we don't sacrifice for those things to become a movement. And so when I look at situations and I ask, is that a moment or is this a movement? And then I look at the sacrifices that it takes to tell you whether the movement's going to come out of that or it's just a moment, right? Because Black men have been getting killed by police since the beginning of time, right? We didn't. Now social media and today it's instantaneous, so the world's a lot smaller. So we hear about it where before it might have taken months for it to make its way around, and so we have opportunity right there. And I've seen Joe do it before. In the palm of our hands is a wealth of knowledge, and if we engage that, supercomputer, right? And if we engage, there's no reason for a person not to know, except they don't want to know.
That's right.
And so when people ask, what is the NAACP doing? I have to say, all the things that I mentioned go on every day, but individually, I just got a call from a guy in Mason County who's been, I think, overcharged, right? So Mason County is 2.5 hours from here. They don't have a branch locally. So I'm going to drive out there and see what we can do to get his thing on the right track. Right. And so we do those things and no one pays us for that. And we're not asking to be paid, but you're right. I have to pay my bills first. So sometimes I might be able to get to help you, John, because it conflicts with things I have to do to pay my bills.
Right.
And so then it can say, well, the NAACP is not doing anything. Well, that's not entirely true, right?
So,
or we don't show up, let's say, like to marches and demonstrations and stuff like that. It takes some specific things for us to get to direct action. And so I couldn't just tomorrow decide that I wanted to go picket something and have a demonstration without going through the necessary paperwork to make sure that it's going to be covered by the national office. So there are some constraints there in how we move along to direct action. But it's always been my experience that when you look at Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr., they had two different means, but they were looking for the same end.
Correct.
And so oftentimes, we're able to partner with other organizations who have the same ends in mind, but we might have the same means.
Well, good point. Glad you asked that. So again, I'm gonna ask you this question again about the NAACP married to the Democrat Party.
Oh,
if that's the case about the decision making of being independent, why don't they ever cross the aisle and go over to another party and say, hey, we agree with what you, or no one at that party has nothing that they agree with from the NAACP?
Well, I don't think that boiling it down to the simplest terms, that's what it looks like. But so in answer to that, when I say, now I'm also an independent, I have been for many years, because I too am going to vote for the things that I think are best for me and what I believe in. So I've never felt like a person should vote down a straight ticket. What we don't do as a country as a whole is that we don't go back and say, listen, John, I voted for you because these are some things that I thought you said and I liked them. And you can't tell me that you didn't even try to enact them. Then next time I'm gonna vote for the other guy, whoever it is, because you didn't deliver for me.
Right.
So we have to be mindful that I'm looking out there and saying these are the things that line up with what I'm doing. Now, to clarify something, the NAACP itself, being a 501c3, is not allowed to endorse any candidate, right? But
Gotcha.
You know how that works.
Right.
I don't necessarily endorse you, but if I support your policies, then in effect, I'm endorsing you without saying it. And so while it would look like that we're only supporting the Democratic Party, I would ask you the same question I asked other friends, is that when they've asked me to join the Republican Party, I say, while I may believe some of those things, when I look at the platform of the National Republican National Committee, enough of that doesn't line up with me to be able to do that. So I think people are confused, or there's no distinction between what the Republican Party stands for and being conservative. Those two things are not synonymous, even though they lead us to believe that it is.
Correct.
You see, I can be conservative,
correct,
and still believe in some of the things the Democratic Party does.
Yeah.
Because while I don't like to pay my taxes, I absolutely would pay them if the programs deliver what they say they would.
Okay.
And so we're not married to a specific party, but when I look at, and we put this out every year, if you look at the voting record of the people in the national or in the Congress, and how they vote for things that line up with the things that we're looking for in our community, then overwhelmingly that stacks up with some of the Democratic Party. So, for instance, just a couple of days ago, when they brought forward that bill for baby formula to ensure that babies have food or milk, there wasn't a color or an organization or a demographic of people associated with that, but 192 Republicans voted against it. And so sometimes it is difficult to take that and digest that and say, we were only talking about baby formula and ensuring that they have the means to be nourished, but they voted against it. And so it may say, or there may be opportunity to say, give the other party a try. But if the other party is not trying, then how do you ever get to the point where you're willing to give them a try?
Right.
Now, I was in conversation with Michael Steele. He was a former RNC chairman right after Obama was elected. There was knee jerk, and he managed to get elected to the chairmanship of the Republican Party. And he said, I sit in these rooms with these folks all the time. And he said, the first thing I have to do is remind them that while I may be a Republican, I'm a black man first. And so this craziness that's going on in here, I can't support that. And he goes, they had to get rid of him. It wasn't because he wasn't doing a good job. It's because he pushed back on them every time they talked about something crazy. Now, when we met with the Republican Party chairman, they said that they weren't concerned about the black vote. And the only reason to participate is if we get stirred up by something racism or having to do with racism. So again, if we don't participate,
well,
how do we?
Let me ask you this. So it looks like you've got some people that are interested, like Keisha Williams, shout out sis. She says, just finding this out after all this time. Specifically more so as to how the NAACP works. Again, like John was saying, people just don't know because, we ain't heard much, you just don't hear much about the NAACP and what they're doing and what's going on unless it's an award show. The general says, I would like to be a board member at the local level. That's true. Our leadership are elders, so now you're talking about some brothers that done grown up in their positions in different offices, and they meet and hang out and have some drinks, and ain't much action going on. Even in that, what I read a report about you going and visiting some of these offices, they were talking about some of these offices being dormant offices, right? So with that in mind, what does the recruitment strategy look like? And I also want you to speak to this $29 million a year that the NAACP brings in for their nonprofit organization. Can't they spare $1 to pay you to go for some gas or something? I mean, come on now.
Well, I agree with you, right? That it's difficult to make those things happen if you're not funding them locally. And so that part of it is,
I mean, y'all can't even write expense report for gas for them 2 hours you about to drive to Mason.
Well, now I will submit expenses for the fuel and stuff like that, and eating and staying out, but there's not a pay. And so I've not ever seen, other than listening to the board meetings, what happens inside and how they spend that money and what things they spend them on. But just recently, in the last few months, they've decided, yes, we need to push this money out to the local level so that they can become more engaged, because a lot of times that's the complaint, right? Is that how do we fund these things you're asking us to do? There are things that come down.
This is the college ball player conversation. Y'all making a bunch of money. We out here pushing, making things shake. Y'all making a bunch of money off of us, and there's some people within that, that are getting paid, but the people out here that's actually doing the work ain't getting no dollars, and that's not cool. No matter where you go, it's almost like everybody in your position on down needs to focus on being what you call it, have some Bitcoin campus. Y'all, everybody needs to be a part of Bitcoin campus, get some digital money going on, and then just go out and visit all these places, stay in hotels and eat, and then send that expense report back, and you'll be good.
Well, and I say it like this, it is tireless work, right? But I think you have to go in with the mindset of having an exit strategy. When I got elected, I told them that I was going to do this for 6 years because I think growth is important. And if you go into a place and stay in it too long, then no growth occurs. And so it's my belief that, one, you have to train those new people up to get them in. And so as we push for what you just said, is you ask us to go do these things and provide us no means to make it happen, then a lot of times it does fall on deaf ears, just like John said, because I got to go pay my bills. So I don't have money to be putting into this organization as a volunteer basis. And so sometimes it causes things to fall off. Now, in relation to those units that are dormant, it's exactly what I described earlier, in that the organization had members that was thriving, but because they didn't recruit or they ran off the younger member, when those people passed away, there was no one left to continue carrying the torch on. And so they eventually died out. So as part of that strategy is I've been looking to go into those communities and find hopefully some 30 somethings that we can rebuild this organization around, with the mindset that you can't go and you would not want to be the branch president for 20 years and continually bring in new members. So the short answer to your question is that there is no money that comes to us. We've complained about it, and hopefully they are going to continue to provide us some funds to work with.
Well, it needs to be vamped. It needs to be revamped. Kick out the old, bring in some new. Let me ask you this before we close out on this subject here. What is the future for the NAACP?
Well, now I believe the future is still bright, not because I'm involved in it, but because racism is not going to go anywhere in the very near future. Right now, I say that what we have to do is we have to regroup, and I apologize to my children for that. And what I'm talking about is that while we need to revamp, we did nothing to prepare for revamping. You see, I made sure that my children were the best I could. I shielded them from those types of things, and so they never had it happen to them. And ironically enough, the night that Donald Trump was elected, my youngest daughter was out in the yard playing, and the guy next door called her a nigger. And she came in the house very upset. So I had a conversation with the people next door. And my point is that I never really prepared them for that because I kept them away from it. And so talking about my generation, I think that we haven't properly prepared all of our children for the way the world is. And so as a result, the NAACP's future is bright, not because of racism still exists, but because the need to fight it still exists. And so I stand in the breach until I get someone else ready, and hopefully they will get someone else ready. Racism itself goes all the way back, at least in this country, right, to the founding of this country. They acknowledge that they had to continue slavery in order to build this country. They couldn't have done it without it. And so it's ingrained in all of our systems. They had to make us feel like, or they were doing two things at the same time, right? They were forging a country that said all men are created equal. At the same time, they were holding another man in bondage. So they created this monster. Thomas Jefferson, I call the father of propaganda, said that we were monsters, that we were genetically insufficient, and all those things. And so when you look at the media today and you look around, that's what we see. So we got to work that out as a people, meaning we have to be engaged. And so the NAACP is not going anywhere, but we do need some new, younger people involved in it.
And I absolutely agree. I was reading this here, which states that the NAACP is a $29 million per year multi-organization nonprofit focused on lobbying, civic engagement, and field operations. However, in recent years, as the Black Lives Matter movement proliferated, the NAACP has struggled to rebrand itself against claims that the group had become outdated and ultimately irrelevant. The group's recently president, Cornell Williams Brooks, sought to use anti-Trump opposition and civil disobedience as an effort to court young members. Brooks was ousted by the National NAACP board, which is currently seeking a new leader that is better at, quote, navigating local, regional, and state policymaking processes. I'm trying to see when this was written. But it sounds like what John said is that there's some rebranding that is absolutely beyond the shadow of a doubt necessary when it comes to
Absolutely.
this organization. People need to get paid. The general said, "Hey, what is the recruitment process?" You know, because she sounds like she's ready to get on board. So
Well,
do I need to link y'all two up?
absolutely. I have attempted. I believe that's the same lady I had spoken with briefly before, but I would definitely like to have a conversation with her. And what I say is that recruitment is, if you believe in the cause of the organization, why would you not be a member? Well, the collateral benefit that I talked about earlier, whether I participate or not, whatever comes out of the work of that organization, I'm going to benefit from it. See, in the 50s and in
So
that time
anybody could
frame,
just be a member.
yeah,
Anybody can be a
it's
member.
open to anybody, right?
It's just a monthly donation, right?
Well, it's an annual, it's a $30 a year membership, right? And so the bottom line to all that is that the participation or the benefits of the association help whether you participate or not. And so what happens is I can sit there and complain and say all the things the NAACP is not doing, but when something comes along that benefits you that the NAACP was working on, it doesn't say this is only for our members. It's for everybody. And so oftentimes it's easy to sit back and do nothing and then reap the benefit of it or the collateral benefits of that. Or you can be engaged so that when it comes the time to go down and march and do all those other things, you might be able to do that. And so, yes, sir.
Go ahead, finish up what you're saying.
No, go ahead.
I think NAACP needs to rebrand itself. It needs to get out there more. People don't know who they are, what y'all doing, and I think if people knew, people would be more than glad to get involved. But there is nothing that really tangible that people can say, "Hey, I want to be a part of that." I like what General said. Hey, she's talking about being a member so she can take over. She just ain't talking about being no follower. She's probably gonna try to find a local person to say, "Hey, you get the fuck out of here." One of the things that's interesting, and it's all the way to the head, it goes all the way to the top. And that's who's getting paid. The people at the top are getting paid. Right. And so, like I said, this is why I call it one of the most buck dancing organizations that I've ever seen, because basically only time you ever hear about it is every year when they do some type of celebrity award thing. I mean, like, when did it come to a point to where you're not fighting about the rights of people no more? Now you're just about giving celebrity awards. Hey, look what you achieved. Look what you just made, And I think that becomes a problem why the people at the bottom is left out. People at the bottom can't go to those big award shows where they wearing those tuxedo suits and doing all
of that. If they said that 29 million, people at the bottom could go.
They on the red carpet, acting like they're getting an Oscar, taking their pictures with their, it becomes a showboating little organization now, and it's weak and wimpy. And I think it needs a vamp from bottom all the way up to top, all the way down. I think everybody needs to go. I think they really need to vamp that thing, and people need to either support it to take over, not support it and let it run the same way. It's support it to take over. If I became interested in wanting to be a part of it, I want to see a takeover. I want to see a change, I ain't giving up my money. I'm not doing it unless I see a change in the local first. I mean, I would have a lot of questions. I wish that we could have had the local brother on here too, or the local sister, whoever's running it, so we can ask those questions. Where the hell are you and where you need to be so that the people know you exist?
Right. So I think then it becomes the chicken or the egg. If you say you don't want to participate till you see change, but you want to see change and you don't participate, then it's circular.
Yeah.
And so I say to anybody that you have to be the change you seek. And
Correct.
So if you want to change the local organization and have them go in, then you got to go join that organization and vote those people out, and then run it in issues that are important to your community. Then you're able to engage them. So that part of it is why I think it's circular, because you don't want to be involved unless it changes, but it doesn't change unless you're involved. So that's a little difficult to to work through, but somebody's got to be involved with it in order to change it. Else the same people get elected and you get the same old thing. Now, I don't know specifically what things are happening in Louisville specific, because I'm trying to keep up with 27 different ones. And so I only see things that people bring to my attention sometimes. So I specifically don't know all the things that are going on in Louisville. But again, with the same question earlier, I will make sure that Joe and John get that information so they can share it with the people that are listening and looking today.
Appreciate you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate you coming on with us. It has been very informative, to say the least. You know, I'm over here looking on Glassdoor and looking at the salaries out there. You know, there's executive assistants. There's people out here making some money, man. You know, I see some $70,000 NAACP salaries and such like that. Night auditors and all type of things, man. There's some nice salaries out there. $74,000. Hey, man, you should call them up and say, hey, I'm president of the Kentucky chapter. I need one of them salaries.
I need a check.
I need a check.
That would be a great thing if we could make it happen. I have enjoyed my time here today as well, and I look forward to any time coming back. I don't believe you can run from anything. You either have to turn into it, else it consumes you and you end up getting drowned, right? And so the questions that John asked are very important to the future of this organization, meaning that we must grab that younger person and teach them and light their torch as mine gets dimmer. Because I promise you, when I turn 60, I'm taking my RV and I'm hitting the road. And so if I haven't lit someone else's torch by then I've done a bad job as the leader of this organization. So that's what I work on every day, is lighting someone else's torch. And you have to be involved in order to make the change. And so I would say to everyone, join the organization. The elections come up, then you have an opportunity to put the people into places, and then that particular branch will be engaged in the things that you see are important to your community. But thank you.
Vote. It's all about voting. No matter where you go, you got to vote somebody in. That's what's dope. All right, man. Appreciate you. Thanks again.
Thank you.
All right, man. I tell you what, that was interesting.
Yep.
Because there's a lot that we didn't know about the NAACP, and as always, man, you asked some hard questions, and I'm thankful for it. And I mean, there was some agitation out there, going on as well. Keisha Williams said, and please answer the question and stop wasting our time. Like she said, talking but saying nothing. But he did a great job of not running from the questions, and I really appreciate that. Marcus is an absolute stand-up guy. I just love his energy. Nonetheless, his presence is dope. But he's a good dude, man. And I even with some of the things I've seen, the write-ups and things of that nature, he's out there trying to make things work, and he's answering the calls, and going and creating action. But he can't do it.
He deserves a check. They need to send him a check.
That's what I'm saying. He's about to drive 2 hours to Mason, Kentucky or Ohio, whatever. Hey, look, man, cut this man a check. We need to get them conversations going. That's what y'all want to protest for something. Hey, stand outside the NAACP office and say, hey, cut these people a check so that they can go to work and work even harder. So, but yeah, definitely. And I didn't know $30 a year. That's something to consider.
$30 a year. And the thing about it is how to get involved, is how you become a vote of who the local would be, who the president.
And that's being a member.
You have to be a member. You have to be a part of it in order to get that vote in, to remove people out the way. So, it's very interesting. Again, it makes the organization lame, because no one's getting paid, and that the people at the top are getting paid. It just seems to be an organization that doesn't have any real say. It just seems to be an organization that seems to be a showboat.
Yeah, because you're right. NAACP gives out awards and stuff like that yearly, and that's pretty much all that we really have seen. from the NAACP. So I tell you what, we're gonna cut to a break real quick, and when we come back, then we'll be talking more about this conversation of the dark side to entrepreneurship. Okay, some people say that there's a dark side out there to it, and if it is, we're gonna go and try to discover it. But nonetheless, folks, we'll be back right here on the Tipping Point Morning Show.
Hey folks, check out healthdaddywow.net. 100% plant-based herbs and supplements. Whether you're in person or online, use the word tipping for 10% off. Remember, feel better, look great, healthdaddywow.net. Remember, healthdaddywow.net.
BB Trading Company, home of soap, sticks, and Saya Baba products. Over 400 locations at a store near you. Cincinnati, Ohio, Louisville and Lexington, Kentucky, Southern Indiana, or find yours online at sayababa.com. Again, that's sayababa.com. A BB Trading Company, where you can find fragrances to incite your senses.
Thank you, Truth Be Told, for allowing God's Lives Matter to be a sponsor. Wearable Products, as the purple t-shirt, is bearing witness every life created by God has infinite value. Visit God'sLivesMatter.com.
You are listening to The Tipping Point Show with your host, Mr. Just Ask Joe, John Yeah. Right here on WLOU. Stream it live on Facebook and WLOUonline.com. And now, The Tipping Point Show.
All right, folks, once again, we're back right here on the Tipping Point Morning Show. It is yours truly, Mr. Just Ask Joe, and of course, my brother from another mother, brother, John Yah, Esoteric Concepts himself, the man who asks the hard questions, the man that might hit you in the gut with those questions. And guess what? You still got to open your mouth and answer it. Don't worry about that breath you ain't got no more from that gut hit. You just got to answer the questions. So, you know, that was some good conversation there, and good stuff, you know, going. And shout out to Frank Stoner there. Good stuff. Shout out to Kari Muhammad there. Again, Keisha Williams, Antonio Brown. Shout out to you there. Shout out to you, Uncle Mishon, just the same. And he says, John Yah, you represent a good gather of good dialogue with tough questions. I think the emojis probably stand for a word. I'm not sure. Good thumbs up, gather of good thumbs up dialogue with tough questions, I think. But my man Kari says, I'm just puzzled as to how the president of Kentucky NAACP doesn't know what's going on in the only major city in the state.
That's right. Wow.
So, you know, that tiff right there, that tiff,
yes,
might create a tiff, you know. So I don't know.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that this is going on in the city. Maybe even the local guy doesn't know nothing about it, and then the state guy know nothing about it. So really, what is really going on, right?
Adios míos, my friend. I just don't know. It's a big problem, man. It's a big problem. Okay, so I tell you what, when we talk about this dark side of entrepreneurship, folks, we're gonna jump in and out this real quick. There was a comment, and I like this comment that was made, and I'm going to read it. It was let's see. I want to say it was last night, I saw a comment, and Ash Higgs, she says, the dark side of, is there a dark side to entrepreneurship? She says, only if the entrepreneur has a dark side. Ooh. You know, so I said, I feel you, but what are the woes? It's not all cake and ice cream, is it? She says, no, but nothing in life worth having is all cake and ice cream. But when you operate your business with the spirit of positivity, gratitude, humility, and faith, the dark sides, quote, are minimal. If you operate with a spirit of entitlement, greed, arrogance, and lack of faith, the dark sides are major and can put you out of business or affect your bottom line. That right there.
Who said that? Who's that? Who's that quote?
That was Sis Ash Higg, who she moved. I think she moved out of Louisville, Kentucky. She calls it Mayberry, and she said I had to get out of Mayberry. But with that being said, then just having that conversation about entrepreneurship. We kind of touched on it a bit earlier when I talked about how excited you are when it comes to your business. She touched on it just the same. Is passion. Listen, there are things you have to do. It's not just things falling out the sky. I mean, here I am revamping my agency ownership status with my life insurance agency 8 months after partnership because I didn't see things going the way that I wanted them to go. So I had to step back out of that partnership and focus on my individual status as a life insurance agent. And I'm revamping to go back into that agency ownership status later down the road, and it's kind of like you were saying the other day, bro, it's just, being able to see the project, see the finished project. And if the project ain't complete in your head yet, then you're going to go through struggles as you go along. But if in your mind, the project is complete, you can see the end result, you know what it looks like, you know what it feels like, then it's a lot easier to go through those struggles down the road. And Brother Frank Stoner says they don't want to know. And before you comment on this whole business conversation, well, I just, the state is much bigger than the city of Louisville, and believe it or not, they deserve the same attention. Absolutely, and that's correct. Yeah, and no one, I don't think, I think even after this conversation, no one's taken away from the work that the president does. He is not omnipresent. He can't be everywhere at the same time. And when you've got a bunch of dead or dormant organizations underneath, I would assume that in every state, every president is dealing with the same thing. Because again, like we read, Black Lives Matter came in and kind of, put some fight up for what people wanted to see when it comes to, hey, I represent Black and I'm trying to fight for you. So they put that up out there in the media. Now we, a lot of us know and understand that Black Lives Matter is, some shit out there. But nonetheless, we are, we do understand that that was a movement that kind of, dampened some of the NAACP's movement. But go ahead, bro. I know you got some stuff to talk about when it comes to this whole entrepreneur conversation.
Yeah, and that's and there are different levels to this, what we would call the dark side. But I think the bottom line comes to mindset. What is the mindset of the individual that is seeking entrepreneurship? And so there are several things I think people should look into, and I have a great book called The E-Myth here. This is called The E-Myth. This is a great book. Why most small businesses don't work and what you can do about it. Right? It's a great book that anyone who's interested in becoming an entrepreneur or someone who is already into business or a small business should take on and digest some of that information. One of the things I like to point out is that the mindset of an entrepreneur. Yes, having vision, having passion for the vision is extremely important. The downside, some of the downsides is loneliness. The part about being so focused that you have to distance yourself from people, family members. Being focused identifies that you can't allow no one to distract you or get into your path of what you're trying to accomplish, because every time when one does that, the first thing happens is people start popping up in your face or distracting you from what your goals is trying to be. A dark
Man.
side to that is dealing with your loved ones who don't
Mm.
support you, but yet distract you from it, and you got to say nope, stay over there. Then you're looking like you're the mean one, then you're looking like the one that don't want to be bothered and the evil one. But you actually become focused, and being focused means you got to cut people off. Family members, you got to cut people off. You got to take time for your own self. That takes a lot of work. Another one is the 8-hour mentality. That is a dark side, which is another mindset. Individuals coming from a job to trying to be an entrepreneur, the difficult part is removing the 8-hour mindset. And what is the 8-hour mindset? It is to go into work for 8 hours and then taking the rest of your day off, the next 8 hours, till it's time to go to sleep on the final 8 hours. This is something that's very interesting. And this is Masonic. This is one of these Masonic sayings that I think is ridiculous, but I'm gonna say it. You take 24 hours and you split it into threes. You got 24 hours in a day. You got as 8 hours in that day, 8 hours for sleep, 8 hours for work, and 8 hours for vacation. Again, this is a Masonic understanding. However, that 8 hours of vacation is a wasted time. So it should be, actually, you find people come over here working down there 16, 18 hours and getting very little sleep, like 5 hours of sleep. Next thing you know, they are accomplishing their goals faster. And you'll see individuals wake up to 5 in that morning, sacrifice, and don't go to bed till 11 or 12 that night. That's sacrificing, right? That's sacrificing out here, really putting in the grind. That's the dark side, is when you really sacrifice. And when you're doing your passion, it's really not, it seems like it's very easy for you. So someone looking in looks at you and think it's easy, but no, it's really not. And when you're talking about changing your mindset, means changing your habit mind from an 8-hour thinking to now, when you're in self-employed, your business is you. You're 24/7. You wake up thinking business and you go to bed thinking business. You sleep business. You even eat dinner and breakfast thinking business. So that takes a mindset. And again, there is no vacation. How do you vacation from yourself if the business becomes you, right? So it's really a focus, staying focused. Cutting out people is a hard thing for people to do. Not answering the phone, learning how to say no. Learning how to say, nope, I ain't borrowing you that. Nope, I ain't lending you that. Nope, I'm not going here and hanging out with you. Nope, I don't want to have a beer and go to the game. I want to stay focused, right? You're going to lose friendship. You're going to have your family members mad at you. And also entrepreneurship, hey, it has broken up marriages, okay? It has caused people to break up and say, listen, I'm out of here. I need to focus on my business. And marriages end based on that, when two people go in two different directions and one turns into an entrepreneur, but one doesn't support the entrepreneur mindset. It's a separation now. And it's like you're married to your first wife, your main wife become your business. And what's secondary is what's left, but it pays for the rest, and that's how it looks.
I had a brother that I spoke to, and you know what, and I could speak to this because he's been on the show and he's talked about it. But Diego, he makes a cool couple million a year, right? And he said that he talked about that, those sacrifices that he had to make. He said his first wife has since said, man, I wish I had been more understanding. I wish I had stuck around. I wish I had supported more. I always knew you was gonna be this, that, and the other. Everybody always says that after the fact. I always knew you was gonna be, the shit's nizzle. But the fact of the matter is that in the midst of it, he had to do what he thought was best. And in that situation meant if he's not gonna get the support, and other brothers that we've had on the show, other people that I've talked to, when you talk about divorce, I could talk about my uncle, millionaire. I could talk about different people, and they share the same story where family, and they're usually divorced because the first one just didn't get the vision. They didn't understand the fact that, hey, I love you, but I love this so much that I want to spend a whole lot of time with it in order to, I want to spend a whole lot of time with it now so that later, we can have a lot more time together, you and me, because I spent so much time over here. You know what I mean? And so it's just one of those things, man, where I feel like a lot of people just, it's the sacrifice that they don't want to make, sacrifice of time. I've been guilty of it too. Falling back, everything you're talking about, falling back into that. It's easy to fall back into that to where, you get comfortable and, all of that stuff here. Shout out to Lacrease Kidd. She says, we say we want phenomenal men, but we don't know how to be supportive. Not my situation, but I wonder if that's it. I'm gonna say that, when you look at a lot of these guys that are very successful in their business, they are on their second wife or third, but mostly their second wife. A lot of them are because the first one they just didn't get the support from.
Well, and that can go different ways. That depends on if the business was already started when the couple got together, or did the business start after the couple got together, and did the other partner give it full support? Because whenever you are into something, I think for the most part, I tell anyone, find someone that supports your vision. Find you someone that backs your vision up, believe in you, that's gonna push you and get you up that morning and help you get to where you got to go. Find that individual that wants to sit down and talk with you, where you can have pillow talk about your business and what your ideals are. Find that one that will wake up and fix that extra breakfast for you because they know you got to get out there and hustle. Find that one that supports you is very important. When you are already in a marriage, and the marriage can be sort of docile, which means it's just normal, meaning, it's all regular. And then one of them get a little hair up there behind and think of something very interesting and very exciting and want to go after, but the partner doesn't. That's going to create a downfall in that relationship. So it happens all the time. It's no different than two people coming into a religion together. Yes, they met in the religion. Oh, yes. And then one of them says, hey, I don't want this religion no more. I don't want to go to church anymore. I want to go to the mosque, or I want to go to the synagogue. I don't believe in that no more. And if that other partner don't follow with them, what they do is they fall apart. I find businessmen who looked at their wives that they had not supportive, and then someone else supports them more. Well, guess what? They're going to be more attracted to that one that supports them and want to listen to them more. So now you look like, oh, he's cheating on you. Or he's being, he's now got someone on the side. No, he's in love with someone that is supporting him unconditionally. And that's extremely important. Who doesn't want support? Who doesn't want to have an endeavor to go after something and want the closest people? Hell, I always would want my family to be proud and supported me, right? And it just didn't work that way. Maybe for many reasons of jealousy or could be mindset. Because here's the thing. When you change, the worst thing you can do is when you try to bury your past. The worst thing you can do is hang around people that's got shovels and willing to dig up your past and show you where you was, show you what you used to do. And those things are distractions. What you want is somebody building with you, covering up your past and building something new. And that's what you need in your corner. So yes, it can destroy a relationship, of course. But if you're focused and you're a visionary, you watch that vision come in, and you will see it was worth letting that individual go. It was worth moving on for your dreams and your ambition. Never let no one stop you from achieving that goal. You are here on this planet for that reason. So no one should stop it. I don't care if you call that person a wife or a husband. Your ass is here to exalt your gift to the world. No one person should stop that. And so, you got, and even your child. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. Your children should not prevent you from giving your gift or sharing your gift with the world. Not even your children. So you need to find their support. They don't support you. You got to continue to do what you do.
Absolutely, man. And it's interesting when you think about that, because I mean, goodness gracious, and you said a mouthful when it comes to that. But look at this, Lucrece, she says, my brother started a business in his 20s, but his wife at the time did not want him to work in a business. She wanted him to have that sure money, right? That security. Now that is an innate thing embedded inside of most women, right? Is that sense of security, right? And in this society, on this monopoly board, a 9-to-5 with a paycheck that says X amount of dollars every week is sure money, and that's a sense of security. And that's not just women, but most people in America, they're looking for that same sense of security. That's why you have the 95 versus the 5%, right? That's why you have the 1%. So she said the second wife was his ride or die. So it's interesting. She says, I'll take a hustler. I just have to finish paying off my house. Right. So, and what she said, yes, I hate when people remind you of their past. It's like, that's their way of knocking you down to their level. And that's exactly what it is. Knocking you down to their level, because they're insecure and self-conscious about where they're at. They see you moving up, and who really wants to look up at somebody that was once on their level, right? Exactly. So it's an interesting thing when you talk about it makes me think about when I used to do Vitamix demonstrations. The way that we would set up our booth was purposely set up so that when people walked up, they had to look up to us. It was a psychological thing. So, even in this, it's still a psychological thing. Looking up to someone, that person has a sense of authority to you. And so either you gonna be supportive of that person, depending upon how y'all was before they started moving up, or you're gonna look up at that person and you gonna have a certain disdain for that person because they're no longer on your level. So what do you got to do? You throw a little shit at them. You say little shit at them so you can knock them down and try to get them back down to their level. Oh, I knew you wasn't just a regular. You was just a regular emotional person like me. I knew it. You know what I mean? And it's a terrible thing, man. It's what happens, man. But this conversation came from. It was Donnie Atkins, who, this dude does, I've been trying to get him on the show too. I'm gonna call him out, but he does a lot in real estate. I think now he owns Club Cedars. He recently bought Club Cedars. But he's doing a lot out here, and he's just a business dude. He just gets out here to make money. You know what I mean? And that's what he does, and he supports his family as such. So, with that in mind, I just think it's dope. But he asked that question. He said, dark side of, business ownership or entrepreneurship, is there a dark side? And we went ahead and he was having some good conversations. Some of the comments on there was interesting as you look at it. No days off, no social life. I get tired of hearing you own it. You can take off whenever you want to, but that's not the truth. Right. You know what I mean? If you want the business to grow, a lot of time, and hey, if employees don't show up, you ain't got no, you're not a Jeff Bezos in this situation. Employees don't show up. You got to go there and fill that gap. Exactly. That's what it is. And the financial sacrifices will destroy you mentally and will have you reevaluating everything. Or it can destroy you mentally and reevaluate everything. The lack of support from your own quote unquote will discourage you. These are just some of the comment, and this is similar, and these are all business owners that are coming on commenting. Your mind must be stronger than your feelings. Man, I love that right there.
Get your feelings out the way of your business. Get your feelings out the way.
Man, and that is the truth, is your feelings being in the way of your business. Your feelings is the ones that have you saying, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead, close up shop and go on inside with the family, or get out the office and go inside with the family, eat dinner, we're gonna watch a movie and this, that, and the other. And all that stuff is great. Nobody's saying not to have a sense of family. But I mean, I can look at one of my mentors that I kind of got away from when I got into this failed business partnership, and I got back under his wing. But and actually, I talked to him. I wanted to talk to you about it. He wants to, he wants to come on the show. But he's a European brother. He's a $500,000 dude in the insurance industry, right? And I mean, he's a $500,000 all by himself. Without the people that he has under him and stuff like that, he's $500,000 all by himself. He's been doing it for 10, 11, 12 years now. But I'm going to tell you what, when you talk about a beast of focus, this dude, I mean, he'll have I don't know if it's matcha or what, but he'll have some powder green stuff. He just take a spoonful, stick it in his mouth, slush some water down, and he just keeps it moving. Because he's like, hey, I can't afford to be sick. You know what I mean? So, but he's on the phone constantly, wrapping up with his own clients, as well as others of us brokers and such that are working with him, training, creating videos, creating platforms so that people can come in and train and watch videos and get involved. I mean, I know how he does it, because I've gotten texts from him at 2:00 in the morning. So I know how he does it. He just doesn't focus on sleep as much. He'll go hard Monday through Friday, and might do a couple things on Saturday, and he takes his time. But hey, he could be up 2:00 in the morning cutting videos, 3:00 in the morning cutting videos, this, that, and the other, so that he can enjoy a Saturday or a Sunday with the family. But that's sacrifice all throughout the week, and I've heard people say it. I heard a guy say, I had to tell my wife, let me be negligent to the household and to the family for a little bit. Give me space, support me in that. And so, like you said, she knows you got to get up and get out and get it. Hey, is she up making some breakfast, some coffee, something for you before you go, so that you can get up and get out and get it? That's support. Just right. That little bit right there could be enough to say, I love you, I support you. Just that little bit is enough to say that. So that's what we talking about when we talking support and everything, man. Is when it comes to business and whatnot, that's what we need.
Another issue that people struggle with, that is another nightmare, I think, is the ability to continue to maintain. In other words, as an entrepreneur, you wake up, or I give you an example. Every time I go out for sales, I try to top the day before. Every week, I try to top the week before and the month before. So I'm always trying to be a visionary and take it further. And that is a sacrifice. Now, and this is something that business will fail when it comes to a certain point and it doesn't continue to grow. If you have a business and you're doing the same thing you did last year, you're working the same products, you have no progress, eventually you will die. Eventually you will fade out because you're not growing. And I think one of the biggest piece when I talk to business people, especially certain ones that are trying to start a business, the first thing I would ask, or not start a business and have a business, I would ask the question, how much the product costing you? How much each piece costing you? And they don't really know. So it's like they're guessing at knowing their how they putting the package together. Well, if you don't know how much that package is actually costing you, then you're being disingenuous to your company, because now you don't know how do you price it if you don't know what it actually costs your bottom line. How much it costs you to put it together, how much it costs you to bring it to your spot, and then how much is it going to cost you, what is called acquisitional cost. How much is it going to cost you to get it to the customer? That's acquisitional cost. If people don't know these simple terms and understanding of business, they're doomed to fail eventually. Or some may luck it through and get by, but don't know still whether or not they're going to make it another 5 or 10 years.
Get by until they hire the right person that can come in and break those numbers down.
Correct.
And whatnot. Because I remember the first time I talked to you about your business, you took me through and you broke it down piece by piece, from the sticker to the plastic, to every piece, to the shipping cost, to everything, which equated to a certain wholesale price that you can sell it versus the retail price and all of that. So, it's important to know that. And this is something that, as business owners, this is when you have a passion for it, you're going to go for that. Now, if you're just there to just try to, get some dollars or something like that, I get it. It's all, at the end of the day, got to make money. But when you're there because you've decided this is something dope that I can give people that will enhance their life, then that's when you really seeing that's when you really gonna see the profits. That's when you really gonna see the money. That's when you really gonna see the vision, and that's when you really gonna do your due diligence to break those numbers down, to do what you got to do to make sure that those numbers are there. And that's something that you even help train people on that.
Correct. And that passion is, I definitely try to lead people through packaging, how to find better packaging, and to how to what is called crunch the numbers of the products. And so when an individual comes to me and they want to say, hey, what can I do to elevate? I start asking them questions. They'd be like, I don't know. I got to talk to so-and-so. I don't know. And that's the failure. Another issue that can be a nightmare for business people is to have the ability to talk about their business. A lot of people have great ideas and they maybe have a great product, but they don't get out there and speak it. They feel either shy or don't feel like they can be able to speak about their business on an intellectual level to where they don't feel embarrassed. That can hinder them for growing their business also. So I've known people that's got great ideas, but they don't talk about it. They don't advertise it. They don't put it out there and somehow expect people money just going to come to you. And they're wondering why they can't move forward. When you have a passion for something, and again, there's two different things. You can have a passion, but you don't know how to speak about something. That's two different things, right? So you still, even though if you got a passion, you're going to have to learn how to speak about your business. You're going to have to learn how to talk to individuals about your product. And right now, with products are going up, all products are going up. Everything's going up. I'll say this, and it actually derived from this statement here that says, no matter what your product is, never be afraid to ask for what you think is worth. And what you think is worth is based upon how much time you put into it, how much the products actually cost you. Not only the cost, but the time it takes you to put it together. All these come from how do you get residual, how do you get paid back for this product? And so you have to determine that. Being able to speak about it, knowing the level of what that product is costing you, and how much it costs your energy inside the product when you sell that product, knowing how to price it, and that I think that's important. Knowing your competition, where your competition is at, how much they charge, and what are they doing. These things become nightmares because you know why? It is work. And nobody really wants to really put in the real work. You prefer to really just go to an 8-hour job. You do this little clock-in thing, and you do this normal shit you do every day, whether you are working in an assembly line or whatever the case may be, and you become used to this same old shit. It takes no thinking to it. It's just something that you do over and over again, run a machine over and over again. When you step out to this entrepreneurship, it is like finding your money, like a lion has to go out and find his food. The food ain't gonna sit. The lion don't wake up and there's the food waiting for it under the tree. No, the lion gotta go smell some shit, follow some tracks, and find his food, or it's gonna go home hungry. So you gotta have that necessity of yourself to go out there and say, hey, I'm gonna get this done. And I don't know where I'm gonna start, but I'm gonna make sure I bring some bread home. And I think that is also a nightmare for people to do every day, every single day, to get out there and find that money. Are you muted?
There we go. There we go. Lucretia Kid, she says, John, yeah, you definitely helped me with rethinking my business. So definitely going to regroup in the fall. She says, I found some companies that are selling less weight for way more money for body butter. And that's something that she is into with her business. So dope stuff. I remember when we had her on before and we were talking about that. And we actually initiated that conversation with her and said, you two need to talk about that.
Yes,
so I guess
we had a sit down. We had a sit down, and it was a very good information that she has. And definitely, I look forward to doing it again because I really love the fact that to be able to help people to move forward. That's another passion of mine. Is I do it free to help an individual to better their packaging and where they can go. Since I'm very familiar with packaging and fanning packages to get your products out there. So I'm more than glad to share that information. As long as they ain't competing against me, but I'm more than glad to share that information.
I say, hey, you don't want to compete against him. I seen what he do to people that compete against him.
Yeah.
He knock them on out,
Yeah.
and then he'll come back and make you a partner later. I done seen it happen. But hey, that's dope, man. That is absolutely dope. She says we need to write a book together. We can call it People Ain't Nothing But a Lie and a Sack of Shit. It might be a bestseller right there. But hey, you know what? It's been good. A fantastic show today, man. We dropped a lot of nuggets, dropped a lot of good stuff. What do you think when it comes to, just a recap and an overview? I did want to kind of point this out. Uncle Michon, he says, I do believe it's interesting. We question President NAACP. Is it involved with local Louisville community activists versus asking if the local NAACP has sought the involvement and actually locally gotten involved? Plus, has there been any complaints given to the local NAACP concerning the TIF? I am absolutely, totally 100 about the process and understanding wisdom, spirit, and truth, the procedure to how things get checked. So basically accountability can be implemented. And StreamYard doesn't go on with too much jargon there. So rest of it got cut off. But just to speak to that, we did actually talk about that. And we actually stated that the local guy probably doesn't even know what's going on. And with that being said, I believe that the president is probably going to reach out locally as well. And like Carl Price said, he might come and throw a book at him. Who knows? You remember Carl Price said that? I was hoping Carl Price was getting elected just so I could see that happen. I wanted to be there for the Tipping Point show, the video that just to see him come locally and throw a book at some of the local attorneys like they do on TV. He said, yes, that's what really needs to happen. And I was all for that. I was hoping he was going to win just for that. But hey, good stuff here, man. Appreciate you always. Appreciate Crypto Cliff for coming on. Appreciate you, Marcus Ray, for coming on to today's The Tipping Point Morning Show. Folks, we're going to have a special edition tomorrow at 7 p.m. where we are going to be doing some work with the Bitcoin campus, right? So we're going to be having a 7 p.m. Tipping Point Morning Show hosted event 7 p.m. tomorrow with Bitcoin Campus, where we have the owner of Lab Rabbits, which is another new crypto coin token going on out there, which, those boys have been coming on and giving out some free tokens and stuff like that. But they are anti-vaccine. And so if you are on that movement, then you definitely don't want to miss this tomorrow, 7 p.m. with the Tipping Point Morning Show. YouTube, the Tipping Point Morning Show. Hey, and we were streaming live on Instagram today as well. So that is dope. Check us out. Like, share, all that good stuff on the Tipping Point Morning Show on Instagram. Also, for the first time ever, we were streaming live, and that's dope. It's just going to get bigger and better from here. Shouts out to you. Hey, I've been trying to send a shout out to my mans, who's some of these cats, some of these celebrities got these big podcasting stations where they can let us come on and do our own thing. Hey, we're coming for you. It's all good. It's the Tipping Point Morning Show, folks. This is literally the greatest Saturday morning live podcast show in the world. That's right.
That's right.
It's the Tipping Point Morning Show. We'll see y'all next week.
Peace, brother.
Peace.
You are listening to The Tipping Point Show with your host, Mr. Just Ask Joe, John Yeah. Right here on WLOU. Stream it live on Facebook and WLOUonline.com. And now, The Tipping Point Show.